The wind was screaming. Not whispering. Screaming like the forest itself was alive and angry, tearing through the trees as if trying to rip her from the earth. Lyria ran barefoot through snow that bit deep into her skin, the frost cutting her feet open, blood painting a trail behind her like a curse she couldn't outrun. The cold didn't matter. The pain didn't matter. Only the sound behind her did, the rhythmic pounding of paws, the echoing howls rolling through the darkness like thunder breaking across the heavens. They were coming for her. Her breath tore through her lungs in sharp bursts, fog spilling from her lips as she stumbled over roots slick with ice. The moon, swollen, merciless, stared down like an unblinking eye. And somewhere in that pale light, she swore she could still hear his voice. Deep, cold, final. "You are no longer one of us." Those words cut deeper than claws ever could. The storm answered him, slicing wind through her hair, tangling it across her face, blinding her. She didn't stop. Couldn't. Each step was a defiance. Each gasp a scream against the rejection that had shattered her world in a single night. Snow turned to mud beneath her feet as she reached the ridge. Her heart hammered, a wild rhythm caught between human panic and something else, something ancient and untamed that clawed beneath her skin, begging to be freed. A flash. Just a flicker of silver beneath her veins. She froze mid-stride, her body convulsing, a sharp pain surging up her spine like lightning made flesh. Her vision blurred. For a second, the forest seemed to tilt, trees bending, shadows twisting. She gritted her teeth, pressing her hands against her chest, desperate to smother that dangerous heat pulsing inside her. No, not now, not again. She could feel it stirring, that thing they feared, that thing they cast her out for. The forbidden power she didn't ask for, didn't understand, didn't want. Her father's bloodline. The curse that whispered in her bones. Another howl cut through the night, closer now. Lyria gasped, tearing forward, the pain of transformation threatening to split her apart. Her vision sharpened unnaturally, every snowflake glowing with eerie clarity. She could smell them, the pack, her pack, the scent of wet fur and rage, of betrayal and bloodlust. She stumbled, her foot catching a rock half buried in the snow. The world spun. Her body hit the ground hard, a sharp crack, her ankle twisting, pain flaring bright and raw. She cried out, clawing at the frozen earth, her fingers sinking into icy mud. "Get up," she whispered to herself. "Get up, damn it." But her body trembled, weak, torn between wolf and woman, between everything she was and everything she refused to become. The sound of pursuit grew louder, snarls, growls, the crunch of paws through snow. They were seconds away. She could hear them breathe, smell their hunger. She dragged herself toward the edge of a ravine, snow melting against her burning palms. Her body was slick with sweat and blood. Every muscle screamed. And then with one desperate pull she slid down the slope, tumbling through frost and mud, the world blurring into streaks of white and black. When she hit the bottom, silence swallowed her whole. The forest around her was dead still except for the echo of her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She lay there for a moment, chest heaving, throat raw, eyes wide and wild as the wind howled above. Her breath came in short, ragged bursts. The taste of blood filled her mouth. Above her, the shadows of wolves gathered at the ridge, dark silhouettes against the blood-red moon. She couldn't see their eyes, but she could feel them burning holes straight into her soul. A low growl rumbled through the air. Then, silence. They didn't follow her down. For now, her trembling hand reached for the mark on her collarbone, faint, silver, pulsing softly beneath her skin. The same mark that once tied her to the pack. The same mark the Alpha him had branded on her the night he swore she'd be his Luna. Now it burned. Fading. Breaking. Tears froze against her cheeks as she pressed her forehead to the cold ground. Every breath hurt. Every thought hurt worse. She wasn't just running from them, she was running from the truth. From the power inside her that could destroy them all if she ever let it free. The air around her shimmered faintly, and for a heartbeat, just one heartbeat, the snow beneath her glowed silver, like moonlight trapped in frost. The mark on her collarbone flared, bright enough to sear her skin. She gasped, clutching at it, but the light sank quickly back into her flesh, leaving behind only the echo of heat. Her wolf stirred inside her, whispering in her mind, a voice made of instinct and fury. "You can't hide forever." She bit down hard, shaking her head. "I can." But even as she said it, she didn't believe herself. The storm grew harsher, a freezing wind tearing through the ravine like a warning. Trees cracked. The earth groaned beneath the weight of something ancient watching her. Lyria pulled herself deeper into the hollow of a fallen tree, curling tight, her body shaking uncontrollably. Somewhere, miles away, a horn sounded the pack's call. They would keep hunting until her blood stained the snow. She should have been terrified. And she was. But beneath that fear, something else stirred, something hot and quiet and waiting. Rage. Not at them. Not even at him. At herself. For believing she could belong. For letting their love make her forget what she was. For thinking the moon ever blessed her kind. Her chest rose and fell, slow and uneven. She closed her eyes and let the cold sink into her bones. Her heartbeat steadied, and when she opened her eyes again, something had changed. No more tears, no more begging the moon for mercy. Just resolve. Sharp, icy, unyielding. She pressed her hand into the frozen dirt, her nails biting into the earth, and whispered so low the wind almost swallowed it. They'll regret the night they left me alive. Then, with a shudder, the light beneath her skin flickered again, brighter this time. The air around her hummed, bending faintly, reacting to her pulse. The forest watched. The moon waited. And Lyria, broken, bleeding, half wolf, half something far greater, lifted her face to the sky and let the snow fall against her cheeks like ashes. Her exile had begun. But so had her awakening. Before the moon hides her truth, hit subscribe to Moonlight's Chronicle. Because every heartbeat here tells a story worth bleeding for. Silence. That's what followed the storm's roar, sudden, eerie silence. Even the wind held its breath. Lyria pressed herself deeper against the hollowed trunk, her pulse still crashing in her ears like waves against a cliff, her skin stung with cold, every breath dragging shards of air into her lungs. She'd almost convinced herself the howls had vanished for good when another sound reached her. Footsteps. Not the hurried, snarling rush of hunters. These were measured, slow, deliberate. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. The rhythm of someone who wasn't chasing, but approaching with intent. Her heartbeat faltered. She pushed herself upright, wincing as pain sliced through her ankle. Snow shifted above the ravine's edge, and through the mist a shadow moved. Broad shoulders, steady gait, a figure cloaked in storm-dark fur. The fog seemed to bend around him, revealing him only in fragments, the gleam of gold eyes, the faint steam of his breath, the heavy weight of presence that made the very air tense. Lyria's instincts screamed one word, Alpha, but not hers. This wasn't the pack that had cast her out. This was someone else, someone more dangerous. The stranger stopped a few feet away, boots sinking into the snow with quiet authority. He studied her not like prey, not like pity, but like something he couldn't quite define. His voice, when it came, was low and smooth, carrying through the cold with effortless command. "You're trespassing in my lands, little wolf." The words rolled through the fog like thunder disguised as silk. Lyria's lip curled, a snarl building in her throat before she could stop it. She hated that her voice shook when she answered. "Then kill me and be done with it." His silence said more than words ever could. The Alpha tilted his head slightly, his eyes catching the moonlight molten gold, watching her with a patience that didn't belong to predators. It belonged to hunters who had already decided the outcome. And yet, he didn't move. He crouched instead, his movements unhurried, deliberate. The snow whispered beneath his weight as he came closer, the scent of pine, steel, and storm clinging to him. His presence filled the space around her, too close, too still. He didn't touch her, not yet. He only looked, gaze trailing over the blood on her leg, the torn fabric of her clothes, the bruises staining her throat. When he finally spoke, his voice softened, though it still held that dark authority that made her pulse quicken. "You're hurt." Lyria flinched back, her hand instinctively covering the wound on her thigh. "Stay away." "I could," he murmured, studying her face. "But you'd be dead before dawn." She tried to laugh, but it came out broken, bitter. "And that would matter to you?" He exhaled slowly, like someone losing patience, not anger, but restraint. Then, without waiting for permission, he reached for his cloak. The movement was fluid, almost graceful. He tore a strip from its hem, the fabric thick and dark, and leaned forward. She tensed, her muscles coiled like a cornered wolf ready to strike. But when his hand brushed her skin, the contact was gentle, shockingly gentle. His fingers were warm against her icy flesh, steady as he pressed the cloth to her wound. Lyria bit back a gasp, her body torn between instinct and confusion. Every nerve screamed that she shouldn't trust him yet. Something about his touch felt dangerously human. His scent wrapped around her rain, ash, and wild earth. It was wrong how grounding it felt. "I should kill you," he said finally, his tone calm, almost thoughtful. "Yet here I am." The words hung between them, heavy with something unspoken. Her voice trembled, but she met his gaze. "Then why don't you?" He didn't answer immediately. His golden eyes flicked to the mark on her collarbone, faintly glowing through the grime and blood. Recognition flickered there, sharp and brief, like a blade glinting in firelight. He knew what she was, or rather what she shouldn't be. "Because I've seen wolves die," he said finally, "and none of them looked at death the way you do." She blinked, confused, her lips parting, but before she could speak, he pulled the knot tight, binding the cloth around her wound. His hands were steady, unhurried. When he drew back, she caught a better glimpse of him, tall, broad, his dark hair damp with melted snow, his jaw marked with faint scars. Power rolled off him, quiet but absolute. Everything about him screamed danger, yet the danger didn't frighten her the way it should have. It fascinated her. "Who are you?" she whispered. He stood, towering over her now, the shadows swallowing half his face. "Kale," he said simply. "Alpha of the Shadowfang." The name hit her like a blow. She'd heard stories every pack had. The Shadowfang were a ghost pack, a rival clan that lived in the borderlands where even Moonlight feared to linger. Ruthless, mysterious, loyal to none but their own. "What do you want from me?" she asked, voice raw. Kale's expression didn't change. "That depends on what you are." The words cut deeper than claws. Lyria's pulse stuttered, her throat tightened as she looked away. "I'm nothing." He crouched again, forcing her to meet his gaze. His voice was quiet, but beneath that calm was something darker, heavier. "Nothing doesn't bleed silver." Her heart stopped. His eyes flicked toward the faint shimmer of light still pulsing beneath her skin, the one she'd fought to hide. She cursed herself for not suppressing it faster. His tone didn't rise, but it sharpened, edged with curiosity. "What are you running from, Lyria of the Fallen Pack?" She froze. He knew her name. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "How?" "The snow remembers the scent of every wolf that crosses it," he said, "and yours smells of betrayal." She wanted to speak, to defend herself, to lie, but the words tangled in her throat. All that came out was a shiver, the kind that wasn't from the cold. Kale leaned closer, his shadow falling over her face. "Tell me who hunts you." Her chest rose and fell quickly, her lips parting, but no sound came. The question was too heavy, too close to the truth. "Finally," she whispered, "my own." Something flickered in his eyes, not surprise. Recognition, understanding. He rose slowly, his cloak brushing against her arm. "Then you're safe here. For now." She didn't trust it. Couldn't. "You think I'll believe that?" Kale turned, his silhouette a dark blade against the mist. "I don't care what you believe." He paused, glancing back at her. "But if you plan to keep breathing, you'll follow me." The command hit her in a place she didn't want to name, that instinctive pull that every wolf felt when an alpha spoke with true authority. It wasn't obedience, it was gravity. Her fingers curled into the frozen earth. "I don't take orders from strangers." Kale's gaze softened, though his words stayed sharp. "Then stay here. Freeze. Bleed. Wait for your pack to find you." He began to walk away, his steps unhurried, fading into the fog. And for a few seconds, she almost let him go. Pride told her to. Pride whispered that she'd rather die alone than follow another alpha's shadow. But then the wind shifted. A howl echoed in the distance, faint but unmistakable. Her former pack. They'd found her trail again. Her chest clenched. "Wait." Kale stopped but didn't turn. Lyria pushed herself up, limping forward, her breath fogging in the icy air. "Why help me?" she asked. "You don't even know what I've done." He turned his head just enough for her to catch his eyes again, molten, unreadable. "Maybe I don't care," he said. "Or maybe I want to know what kind of wolf their alpha was foolish enough to cast out." His tone wasn't kindness. It was curiosity edged in danger. He extended a hand, not as a savior, not as a command, just an offer. She stared at it, the roughness of his palm, the faint scars cutting across it, and everything in her rebelled. Trust had gotten her banished. Love had gotten her nearly killed. And yet, beneath the fear, something inside her whispered that if she didn't take that hand now, she might never see another dawn. Her own hand trembled as she reached out. Their fingers brushed just barely, and the world seemed to shift. The wind paused. The air thickened. For a heartbeat, her mark flared again, silver light meeting the gold in his eyes. Cale's jaw tightened. He felt it too. Whatever this was, it wasn't coincidence. He tightened his grip just slightly, steadying her as she stumbled. "Stay close," he murmured. "The forest isn't kind to strays." Lyria's gaze held his wary, defiant, but undeniably drawn. "Neither are Alpha's." A faint smirk touched his lips, gone before she could blink. "Then it seems we understand each other." He turned toward the dark woods, his cloak sweeping through the mist. She hesitated only a moment before limping after him, her pulse thundering with confusion, pain, and something dangerously close to hope. The fog swallowed them both, one hunter, their fates already tangled in ways neither could see. Above them the blood moon watched, silent, knowing. And somewhere deep in the forest's heart, something ancient stirred, sensing the spark that had just been lit. The forest swallowed their tracks before dawn. Frost clung to every branch, every breath of wind, a whisper of ghosts. Cale led the way through the maze of trees, his movements silent, sure, like he'd been born of shadow itself. Lyria followed, her body heavy with exhaustion, her ankle throbbing, her thoughts louder than the night. Each step dragged her further from the life she'd known, and yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the forest watched her, judged her. Snowflakes melted on her skin, leaving cold trails down her cheeks that could have been tears if she'd had any left to shed. When her knees finally gave out, Cale caught her before she hit the ground. His hands were firm, steady. No words, no comfort, just quiet strength that didn't demand anything in return. He carried her the last stretch, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. She wanted to hate the sound of it, but it felt like the only solid rhythm in a world that had fallen apart. Then darkness claimed her. The first sound she heard when she woke was fire. The slow crackle of it, the soft hiss of sap bursting in the heat. Her lashes fluttered open to dim light, golden and red, flickering across a cavern of stone and fur. The scent hit her next, cedar smoke, earth, and faint iron. She lay on a thick pelt spread over smooth rock. Her wound had been cleaned and bound. Her clothes, though torn, were dry. The ache in her leg throbbed, but the sharp edge of pain had dulled. Someone had tended to her carefully. Someone was watching her. Her gaze shifted, and there he was. Cale sat in the corner, half in shadow, his back to the wall. No cloak now. Bare skin marked by scars that glimmered faintly in the firelight, each one a story, written in silence. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes weren't. They followed her every movement, not predatory, observant. He didn't speak. Neither did she. For a long moment, there was only the fire between them, its glow catching in the gold of his irises like light reflected off molten metal. When she finally found her voice, it came out rough, barely above a whisper. "Why help me?" He didn't move, didn't blink. His jaw flexed, the muscles in his shoulders shifting as he exhaled slowly. "Because I know what it means," he said, voice low, almost too soft for his size. "To be hunted by your own." The words cut through her defenses like blades wrapped in truth. Her throat tightened. She looked away, her gaze falling to the fire. The heat licked her palms as she reached toward it, but she couldn't feel it. Not the warmth, not really. Not anymore. Flash. The council's hall, the scent of incense and fear. Her pack's elders sitting high above her, cloaked in judgment. Their eyes had burned with the same fire that now reflected in Cale's. But there was no compassion there, no restraint, only hatred dressed as righteousness. "You brought this on us," one of them had hissed. "The signs were clear. The river turned black after your birth. The crops failed. Wolves fell sick. And then her alpha, her once protector, her once hope had spoken. His words had been colder than any winter. Your bloodline is cursed, Lyria. The moon does not favor your kind. You are no longer one of us." That single sentence had shattered the world she knew. She'd begged. Not for mercy, she'd already given up on that, but for understanding. for someone to see her as more than a prophecy gone wrong. But all she got was silence, and the sound of her best friend's voice, the one who'd promised to stand by her, whispering the final betrayal. "Forgive me, Lyria, but I can't lose everything for you." The memory burned like acid behind her eyes. She flinched, as if trying to push it back into the past where it belonged. Cale's voice cut through the storm of her thoughts. "They said something to you," he murmured, watching the fire. "Something that still eats at you." Lyria's eyes snapped to him, startled. "You think you know me?" His gaze lifted to meet hers. "No," he said quietly, "but I recognize the look." He turned slightly, letting the firelight wash over the scar that ran from his collarbone to his ribs. Jagged, old, healed wrong. You don't get scars like these unless the people who gave them once knew your name. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It pulsed with understanding neither of them wanted to admit. Lyria swallowed hard, her chest tight. "Your pack?" He nodded once, the motion small. "What's left of it?" She frowned, but the weight in his tone kept her from asking more. Cale's gaze drifted to the flames again, and for the first time since she'd met him, his mask slipped just slightly. "I had a mate," he said, voice softer now, almost reverent. "She died because of me, because I couldn't protect her from what hunts us all." Lyria didn't breathe. He didn't elaborate, and she didn't ask. There was a sacred kind of pain in his voice, the kind you don't touch without bleeding too. After a long pause, she whispered, "So, now you help strays?" He glanced at her, the faintest hint of a smile that wasn't really a smile. "No, I just don't kill those who remind me of ghosts." Her heart twisted at the words. She turned her face away, blinking hard. "You shouldn't have saved me," she murmured. "You'll regret it." Cale's reply was a quiet rumble that sent a shiver down her spine. "You sound like someone who's already decided her life isn't worth saving." Her jaw tightened. "Maybe it isn't." He rose then, his height filling the space, his shadow spilling across the stone floor. The firelight cut along his muscles, tracing the lines of a man forged from violence and grief. "Then prove me wrong," he said simply. The challenge lingered in the air, thick and dangerous. Lyria wanted to snap back, to reject his words, but her body betrayed her, her chest rising too fast, her pulse hammering too loud. There was something in his voice that reached past her pride, past her pain, something that made her want to fight again. But she couldn't. Not yet. Instead, she turned her gaze inward, back to the weight of her secret. The silver glow beneath her skin pulsed faintly, hidden by bandages and willpower. It was the reason she'd been hunted, the reason she'd been cast out. No one was supposed to know she carried that power, the mark of the first moon's heir, the bloodline long thought extinct. A curse, they'd called it. A blasphemy. Her mother had died protecting it. Her father had died denying it. And Lyria, she'd survived by pretending she was ordinary, until the night the truth burned through her skin. She blinked hard, dragging herself back to the present, back to the quiet den and the Alpha who now stood before her, a stranger with his own ghosts. Cale poured water into a small stone cup, offering it to her. His hand was steady, his gaze unreadable. She hesitated, then took it. Their fingers brushed again, and that same strange current rippled between them, silver meeting gold, power meeting restraint. He felt it. She knew he did. For a moment, the world narrowed to that contact, a heartbeat too long, too heavy. She pulled away, the motion quick, defensive. "I don't need your pity," she said, her voice rough. Cale's expression didn't change. "Good, I don't give pity." He turned toward the entrance, where the faint light of dawn painted the fog in pale hues. "Rest. You'll need your strength." "For what?" she asked. He paused, glancing back over his shoulder. "For when they come looking for you." Lyria's breath hitched. "You think they'll dare step into Shadowfang territory?" He gave a small, humorless smile. "They will if they fear what you carry more than they fear me." Her stomach turned to ice. Cale stepped closer, his voice dropping lower, quieter, almost a growl, almost a promise. "Tell me, Lyria, what are you really?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. The question hung in the air like a blade between them, sharp, glinting, inevitable. And for the first time since her exile, she realized she didn't have an answer she could live with. Outside, the first wolf howl of morning broke across the horizon. Low, distant, warning. Kale's eyes flicked to the den's entrance. They're closer than I thought. Lyria's pulse quickened, fear mingling with something else, something darker. Because as much as she dreaded being found, part of her wanted them to come, wanted to stop running, wanted to make them pay. The thought terrified her almost as much as the power burning under her skin. She pressed a trembling hand over her heart, whispering to herself, or maybe to the moon, "I don't know who I am anymore." And from the shadows, Kale's quiet voice answered, "Then let's find out before they do." The air in the mountain thins, each breath slicing through her lungs like glass. The further Kale leads her into the dark, the louder her heartbeat becomes, echoing against the cavern walls like a second pulse in the stone. Outside, the forest had been quiet, fearful even. But here, beneath the mountain's bones, the air trembles as if it remembers something older than the wolves themselves. Lyria's bare feet press against cold stone. Her steps falter. "Why are we here?" she whispers, her voice catching in the hollow stillness. Kale doesn't answer. He moves like a shadow that belongs here, like the dark knows him. The dim torchlight barely touches his face, but his eyes glow faintly wolf gold, soft and burning. He stops before a slab of rock carved with spiraling symbols, ancient, pulsing faintly as though something alive sleeps beneath. "This place," he murmurs, "was forbidden before any alpha drew breath. It's where the first moon chose her flame." Lyria blinks, sweat mixing with the dirt on her temple. Her flame? Kale runs his hand along the markings, reverent. The moon's wrath made flesh, the one destined to either destroy or purify the packs, the silver flame wolf. The words hang in the air, ancient and dangerous. Lyria laughs hoarse, hollow, defiant. "You've brought me here for myths?" Kale's head tilts slightly, like a predator considering mercy. "You think myths don't bleed?" He steps closer, slow enough that she feels the heat radiating from him. "You think legends don't start with someone running for their life?" She wants to argue, but the walls begin to hum. It's low at first, like wind through a chasm. Then, louder, a vibration deep enough to shake loose dust from the ceiling. Her pulse stumbles. The light from the torch flickers, swallowed by a silvery glow rising from the carvings. The sigils, those spiraling marks, ignite one by one, circling toward her like the closing eye of a storm. Lyria stumbles back. "Kale." But he's not looking at her. He's staring at her hand, her right palm, where light now bleeds through skin. The same symbol carved on the wall burns itself into her flesh, shining brighter than fire. Lyria screams. It's not pain, at least. Not entirely. It's knowing. Every cell, every memory, every lie told about her curse folds into one blinding truth. Her blood wasn't cursed. It was marked. The cave trembles. A gust of air sweeps through, and suddenly she sees them, visions spilling through the cracks of reality. Wolves of silver flame tearing through darkness, an alpha crowned in ash, and a Luna with eyes like hers standing at the edge of a burning field. Then, silence. Kale is beside her, hand gripping her wrist, grounding her. His thumb brushes the glowing mark. "It's real," he says, almost to himself. "You're the Flameborn." She shakes her head, trembling. "No. I couldn't even save myself. My pack, my family, they exiled me. They said I was death walking on two legs. And they were right," Kale says quietly, "but not the way they think." She looks up sharply. His eyes are fierce, steady, full of something she doesn't recognize, belief. "You're not cursed, Lyria. Your power disguised as punishment." His words cut deeper than any blade. She wants to believe them, but the fear in her chest screams louder. The moonlight spilling into the cavern shifts warmer now, not silver, but white fire gold. It touches her skin, and the mark flares again, illuminating her face in molten light. Kale's expression changes, no longer just awe, but dread too. "The flame responds to awakening," he says, voice low. "It doesn't burn for no reason. It burns when destiny calls." Her breath shakes. "Destiny? You mean death?" He studies her for a long moment, then, gently, "Sometimes they're the same thing." The words hang heavy between them. Lyria's knees buckle. The visions still dance behind her eyes, the silver flame, the howling armies, Kale standing beside her beneath a blood-red moon. She can feel it, a thread binding her to him, taut and dangerous. And she hates it. Because he's everything she's been taught to fear: the enemy alpha, the killer of her kin, the one whose name mothers whisper to frighten their pups. But in his silence, in the way his fingers tremble when they touch her mark, there's something unguarded, something human. "I saw your eyes before," she whispers. "When the storm hit the ridge. You were there, weren't you? Watching." Cale's jaw tightens. "Yes." "Why?" He exhales through his nose, slow. "Because I saw your flame before you did, and because every vision I've had ends with your scream and the world burning." The cave hums again, deeper this time, resonating with her heartbeat. Her fear twists into anger. "Then why help me? Why not kill me now if I'm such a threat?" Kale steps closer until she feels the heat of his breath. His voice lowers. "Because maybe, just maybe, the prophecy was wrong." The words brush against her ear like smoke. Her mark throbs. The sigils behind her pulse once, then fade into darkness. The glow retreats, leaving them bathed only in the flicker of dying flame. But something has changed. Lyria feels it: the pull in her blood, the way the air itself seems to bend around her. Her wolf stirs beneath her skin, whispering things she can't yet understand. She looks down at her hand. The mark still faintly glows beneath the surface, like an ember refusing to die. Kale turns toward the exit, his voice low and grim. "The council will come when they feel that energy. The mountains have no secrets. You need to decide who you are before they decide for you." She follows him, silent, lost in thought. Outside, the wind howls like memory. The snow falls thicker now, cloaking the forest in pale light. But Lyria no longer feels the cold. She glances once at the sky, the moon, full and watchful. For the first time in her life, it doesn't look distant. It looks alive. Its glow spills over her like a vow whispered across time. Beneath that light, her blood hums. The prophecy has awoken. And though she doesn't yet understand it, a truth settles deep inside her chest. She is not running anymore. Not from her past. Not from her power. Not from him. Before the moon hides her truth, hit subscribe to Moonlight's Chronicle, because every heartbeat here tells a story worth bleeding for. The next dawn breaks like a wound red bleeding through gray. The mountains seem to hold their breath, the stillness before a scream. Lyria can feel it before she hears it. The shift in the air. The whispers. The unease that rolls through the Shadowfang camp like a scent of blood on the wind. They know. Word has spread faster than wildfire, faster than truth. The Flameborn lives. And she is here. The pack that had offered her shelter the night before now moves with wary eyes. The young, the wounded, they huddle closer together, glancing toward her with the kind of fear that once kept her awake at night. Her curse, her mark, her truth. She stands by the edge of the camp, the cold biting at her bare arms. Her hair is still damp from the snow. She stares out toward the tree line, dark and endless, and something inside her whispers that danger is already coming. Kale emerges from his cabin, his face carved from stone. The lines around his mouth are hard, his eyes sharper than she's ever seen. He doesn't look at her at first. He doesn't have to. His presence hums like thunder felt before it's seen. "Rogue patrol spotted at the northern border," one of his lieutenants reports, voice trembling slightly. "They're saying you're hiding a witch, Alpha. They've already killed 2 of our scouts." Kale's jaw tightens. "How many?" 15, maybe more. Lyria's stomach twists. She steps forward. "They're here for me." Kale turns to her then, the full weight of his gaze hitting her like a physical thing. "They're here because fear makes fools brave. You didn't call them." "I brought them," she says. The words tear out of her like a confession. "Wherever I go, blood follows." His silence burns hotter than anger. Then, a distant howl rises, a sound that splits the mountain air. It's not the call of a hunt, it's war. Kale doesn't hesitate. "Form the line." The camp explodes into motion, wolves shifting, bodies crashing through the snow as armor is strapped, weapons drawn. Lyria watches the pack she doesn't belong to move with deadly coordination. Their loyalty to Kale is instinctive, unquestioned. But when she steps closer, they falter, eyes dart. A low growl ripples through the ranks. "She's the reason they're coming," someone shouts, a young wolf, voice sharp with fear. "She'll doom us all." Lyria freezes. It's the same tone she remembers from the night she was cast out. That same mix of panic and disgust. Kale's growl cuts through the noise like a blade. "Enough." He steps between her and his men, his presence swallowing the space. She's under my protection. The words strike the air with the force of an oath. The pack lowers their eyes, but their fear lingers like smoke. Lyria's throat tightens. She doesn't want him to fight for her. Not again. Not if it'll cost him his pack. Kael, she starts, but the sound of snapping branches drowns her out. The rogues are here. Dark shapes break through the tree-line wolves with matted fur and blood on their teeth. Their eyes burn red, their breath steaming in the cold. At their head is a massive black wolf, his fur streaked with gray. His human voice cuts through the chaos like broken glass. Shadowfang, he bellows. Surrender the witch who bears the flame, or burn with her. Lyria's hands shake. The mark on her palm pulses, hot and hungry. She steps forward instinctively, but Kael's hand shoots out, barring her path. You stay behind me, he says, his tone iron. She meets his eyes gold fire meeting silver fear. If I hide, they'll never stop. They'll hunt until there's nothing left. Before he can stop her, she steps past him. Snow crunches under her feet, her breath curls like smoke. Every eye, enemy and ally, fixes on her as she walks toward the border, her blood humming louder with every step. I am not your enemy, she calls out, her voice trembling but clear. I didn't ask for this power. The rogues laugh, a harsh, cruel sound. Power doesn't ask for permission, girl. They lunge. Time fractures. Kael roars, shifting mid-leap, fur exploding from skin in a blur of black and silver. He collides with the first rogue, sending snow flying. Claws meet claws, teeth flash. The clearing becomes chaos, growls, screams, the sound of bodies hitting frozen earth. Lyria backs away, heart hammering, the pulse in her palm blinding now. She tries to hold it back, the fire crawling beneath her skin, the ancient heat whispering to be released. Not again. But then she sees him, Kael, surrounded, bleeding, his massive frame crashing under the weight of 3 wolves. His snarl fades into a strangled sound. Something in her breaks. The mark flares white hot. The world bends. A scream tears through her, raw and inhuman. The ground beneath her feet cracks. Lightning arcs across the snow. But it's not lightning, it's flame. Silver and alive. It crawls like veins of molten metal, spreading outward in a perfect circle. Wolves freeze mid-attack. Snow melts. Trees ignite. Branches bursting into white fire that doesn't burn, doesn't consume. It purifies. The rogues howl, their forms unraveling into ash and wind. The air fills with the scent of smoke and something holy. Then, silence. The flames die. The sky darkens again. Lyria stands at the center, panting, her hair wild, her eyes glowing faintly. The mark on her palm still glimmers, fading slowly as the power drains from her body. Around her, the surviving wolves stare, not with anger, not even fear. Something deeper, something close to reverence. Kael shifts back, naked to the waist, his body streaked with blood and frost. He walks to her slowly, every step deliberate. His expression, unreadable. When he reaches her, he doesn't speak. He only looks. And she sees it, the doubt, the war behind his eyes. He reaches out, his hand hovering near her face but stops an inch away, fingers trembling. No one touches her, he says finally, voice hoarse. The pack lowers their heads, obeying, but the silence that follows is thick with uncertainty, because power like hers doesn't come without cost. And Kael knows it. She sees it in his gaze, the question he won't voice. How long before her fire burns him too? Lyria's breath catches, her strength fading. She looks at him one last time before the world tilts. Her knees give out. Kael catches her before she hits the ground. Her last thought before darkness swallows her is not fear, but the faint warmth of his hand against her skin. The first clash has ended, but the war inside her has only just begun. The mountain winds wail outside like a warning from the gods. Inside the cave, the world has gone still. Only the fire breathes low, orange, and fragile. It casts trembling shadows over stone, over blood-stained fabric, over 2 souls who've run too far and lost too much. Lyria stirs, wincing as the ache in her ribs flares. Her body feels like borrowed weight, all pain and memory. The battle flashes behind her eyes in fragments. Kael's roar, the blaze of her flame, the silence that followed. She remembers the fear on their faces, even his. It still clings to her like smoke. Now, he sits across from her, cross-legged and bare-chested, washing blood from his hands. The flicker of the fire plays along his skin, lighting the scars carved into his chest like the ghosts of old battles. There's one, right over his heart, thick, pale, angry. It draws her gaze again and again, even when she tries to look away. Cale doesn't speak. His silence is heavy, but it's not cruel. It's the kind of silence that carries history, the kind that presses against your bones. He dips a cloth into warm water, wrings it out, and moves closer. The smell of pine and smoke fills the air, his scent, earthy and sharp, like something wild trying to be gentle. "Hold still," he says, voice low. His touch is steady, almost too careful, as he presses the cloth against the cut on her arm. She flinches. He pauses, waiting for her to breathe again before continuing. Neither looks at the other. The fire crackles, the wind moans, and the silence stretches until it feels like another living thing between them. Lyria finally whispers, "You could have let me die out there." He doesn't stop tending her wound. "I could have," he agrees quietly. "Why didn't you?" His jaw flexes. For a long moment, he says nothing. Then, finally, he meets her eyes, gold burning against silver. "Because I've seen what happens when you let someone die who shouldn't." His tone isn't harsh. It's hollow. Lyria swallows, her throat tight. "Who did you lose?" Cale sets the cloth aside, stands, and walks toward the cave's mouth. The moonlight pours in around him, cold, white, unrelenting. He doesn't turn when he answers. "My mate." The words hang there, soft and brutal. Lyria freezes. The cave suddenly feels smaller, the air thinner. She doesn't know what to say, so she says nothing, just watches his back, the way his shoulders tense, the way his breath catches like it hurts to let the truth out. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. "They say I killed her. Maybe they're right." He looks down at his hands, the same hands that saved her, that bound her wounds, that held her when the world tried to tear her apart. "In battle, I lost control. I thought I could fight it, the beast inside, but she got too close. Too close when I was too far gone." His voice drops, cracking around the edges. "When I came back to myself, she was gone." The wind howls through the cave, carrying the sound of his confession into the night. Lyria rises slowly, pain forgotten, her heart a knot of sorrow, and something else she doesn't want to name. She walks toward him, her bare feet silent against the cold stone. When she's close enough, she reaches out tentative, trembling, and touches the scar over his heart. His muscles tighten under her palm, but he doesn't pull away. "You're not the monster they call you," she whispers. Cale turns his head slightly, his eyes meeting hers. The look in them steals her breath. Grief, guilt, hunger, all tangled together. "Then what am I?" he murmurs. She doesn't have an answer, not one that makes sense, not one that doesn't terrify her. The fire crackles softly behind them, its light flickering over their faces. For a moment, the world narrows to this, the space between their breaths, the heat of his skin beneath her hand, the pulse that beats beneath the scar. Her heart stumbles. His scent fills her lungs. He leans in just slightly enough that she can feel the warmth of his breath against her cheek, the roughness of his voice when he speaks again. "You shouldn't trust me," he says. Her voice trembles. "And yet I do." His eyes darken. The space between them shrinks to nothing. The air thickens. The cave itself seems to hold still, waiting. For one heartbeat, the distance disappears. Her lips part. His breath brushes hers, hot, ragged, tasting of fire and restraint. Then a sound. A distant howl cuts through the night. Long, low, familiar. The world returns with a jolt. Cale steps back as if burned. The warmth between them dies, replaced by something colder. Fear, regret, the unspoken truth that what almost happened shouldn't. He turns away, his voice raw. "If you stay with me, you'll never be safe again." Lyria stands there, breathing hard, the fire painting her in gold and shadow. Her hand still tingles where it touched him. She could leave. She should leave. But instead she whispers, "Then I'll never be safe anywhere." Her voice trembles not with fear, but with resolve. Cale closes his eyes. His fists clench at his sides. When he looks at her again, something in his gaze has changed, softer, sadder, more dangerous. "You don't understand what you're saying." I do, she replies, stepping closer. You think the danger is out there. She presses her hand over her heart. But it's in here. It's been here all along. Her words hang in the air like a vow. Kale exhales, long and slow. He looks at her the way a man looks at a fire he both needs and fears. Then, without another word, he walks past her, deeper into the shadows of the cave. Lyria stands by the fire, alone, watching his silhouette disappear into the dark. The howl echoes again, closer this time. She wraps her arms around herself, the cold seeping in, but her mind burns with the heat of what almost was. For the first time in her life, she's not sure whether the real danger lies outside the cave or inside her own heart. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's alive, waiting. Somewhere deep in the mountains, destiny stirs and both of them can feel it breathing down their necks. The silver light shatters across the clearing, painting the mountains in blood and ash. Wolves flee, howls echoing down the ridges, fear, awe, disbelief. Lyria stands at the center of it all, breath ragged, chains steaming against her scorched skin. The mark on her palm burns like a second heart. She doesn't feel the pain, she feels the silence, Kale's silence. Smoke curls around her, mingling with the smell of singed fur and silver. The world sways, dimming at the edges, but she won't fall. Not yet. Not before she speaks the words that taste like blood and betrayal. You could have stopped them, she whispers. Her voice isn't loud, but it cuts deeper than any blade. You could have chosen me. Kale takes a step forward, eyes dark, unreadable. His wolves stand behind him, torn between fear and loyalty. He opens his mouth. No sound comes. Lyria's laugh is hollow. That's what I thought. The wind catches her hair as she turns away. The silver mark flares, brighter now, veins glowing faintly beneath her skin. The prophecies flame, waking. Kale reaches out, but the air between them crackles, rejecting him. He watches as she dissolves into the mist like moonlight fleeing the dawn. The forest swallows her. Every step is agony, but she keeps moving. Her wolf paces beneath her skin, restless, wounded, whispering Kale's name despite everything. The bond between them, whatever it is, still hums faintly, fragile, alive. She hates it. She needs it. She doesn't know which hurts more. Flashback his touch, the steadiness of his voice when he said, "You're under my protection," the warmth of his hands binding her wound, the fire in his eyes that looked nothing like pity. Now, all she can see is the look he gave her at the council's mercy, half guilt, half fear. She bites down a sob. Never again, she vows. The trees listen, the moon listens. Somewhere, the flame mark pulses in agreement. In the distance, Kale's camp burns. The High Council's emissaries have turned on him too, purging all who sheltered the cursed flame. Kale fights like a ghost possessed, his claws stained with silver and smoke. His beta falls beside him, whispering with his last breath. She was never the curse. We were. And still Kale searches the horizon for her. Every scent of rain, every flicker of light, makes his pulse jump. The air itself hums with her magic. He knows she's alive. He knows she's hurting. And he knows he caused it. Lyria collapses near the edge of a frozen stream. The night bleeds cold. The moon hangs low and watchful. Her reflection stares back, eyes no longer soft brown, but burning silver. Not fully wolf, not fully human, something else. The flame-born, she murmurs bitterly. The cursed savior. A whisper rises from the stream, not from her mind but from beyond. The oracle's voice, soft and cruel. The heart that burns brightest will destroy what it loves. Her pulse skips. She remembers Kale's hand on her chest, the way his voice broke when he confessed his sin. She remembers how it felt to want him anyway. Now the prophecy makes sense in a way that terrifies her. Kale tracks her scent across 3 valleys, ignoring the wounds clawing open across his chest. His wolves beg him to turn back. He doesn't listen. He finds the scorched clearing where the council fell. The earth itself bears her mark, spiraling sigils etched in molten soil. She didn't run, he murmurs. She ascended. He looks to the sky. The moon flickers, veiled by storm clouds. The beast within him stirs. You let her break alone, it growls. Now she will burn without you. Kale's roar splits the night. Trees bend under the weight of his grief. Lyria's dreams twist into visions. Flames consume the Shadowfang Mountains. Kale stands at their heart, eyes glowing, teeth bared not at her, but at the world. She sees herself beside him, not enemy nor savior, but equal. She wakes with a gasp, clutching the mark. Her magic hums violently now, uncontrolled, dangerous. The cave walls around her shimmer, the same ones that once echoed Kale's whisper. You're the one fated to end or save us. Maybe both, she thinks. Maybe there's no difference. The snow outside begins to melt from her heat. Kale finds her 2 nights later. She senses him before he speaks. His scent cuts through the wind. Pine, smoke, blood. He steps from the shadows, slower this time. No armor, no command, just a man stripped raw. You shouldn't have come, she says, voice low, tired. I couldn't stay away. Silence. The moon breathes between them. Lyria turns, meeting his eyes. Do you know what you did to me? His jaw tightens. I thought I was saving you. You saved your pack. They're gone, he whispers. All of them. The council, the wolves, the boarders. They're ash. Because of me. Because I let them hurt you. Her breath catches. The confession lands like thunder. He steps closer, each pace slow, deliberate. I came to end this, he says. Not you. The curse, the lies, the prophecy. She shakes her head. You can't fight destiny, Kale. Then I'll fight the gods themselves. Her heart stutters. His words, reckless and sacred, scrape against the walls she built around her. She feels the pull again, that invisible tether that shouldn't exist yet refuses to break. I don't know if I can forgive you, she breathes. Then hate me, he says, voice breaking. Just don't walk away again. She hesitates. 1 heartbeat, 2. Then she moves toward him, not away. Their foreheads touch. The world holds its breath. He smells of battle and loss. She smells of fire and rain. You said you killed your mate, she whispers. Maybe this is the gods' punishment. Maybe I'm your second chance or your last mistake. His hand rises, rough thumb brushing her cheek. Maybe both. Her pulse thrums against his wrist. The air between them burns. The mark on her palm glows faintly, mirrored by a scar along his chest, the same place her hand rests. The symbols align, pulse sinking. For the first time, it doesn't hurt. Above them, the moon splits the clouds, silver spilling across their faces. The wind howls through the valley like a song of warning. Somewhere far below, the remnants of the council stir the old powers, sensing a shift they cannot control. The oracle's voice returns, echoing in both their minds. When flame meets shadow, the world will bow or burn. Kael doesn't flinch. Lyria doesn't run. For the first time since the curse began, 2 hearts beat in defiance of fate. And far away, in the mountains, something ancient wakes. The prophecy is no longer a story told in whispers. It has chosen its players. And neither salvation nor ruin will come quietly. The world trembles before dawn. The air is heavy with incense and fear, the metallic taste of magic thick enough to choke the lungs. The elders stand in a perfect ring, cloaked in black and silver. Torches line the ridge, their flames flickering blue in the unnatural cold. At the center, bound by threads of light and iron, kneels Lyria, her wrists scarred from the chains that have tried and failed to hold her. The mark on her palm pulses faintly, warning the moon itself that it is being defied. The high priest's voice rises, ancient and sharp as bone. By decree of the moon, by judgment of the flame, her spirit shall return to dust. The curse ends tonight. But above them, the moon does not bow. It stirs. The light fractures a blinding spear, splitting the sky in 2. The torches gutter, shadows whip into screams, and a single heartbeat of silence stretches through eternity before the world ignites. Lyria's scream is not of pain. It's a roar ancient, sacred, and terrible. The air explodes outward, a hurricane of molten light. The circle of elders is thrown to their knees, their silver runes melting into the dirt. The threads binding her wrists snap like spider silk. She stands, shaking, gasping, eyes no longer human. Silver flames crawl up her skin like living veins of light. Her wolf rises within her, not the frightened creature that hid in the shadows, but the one that was always meant to burn. Her body blurs, bones reshaping, muscles shifting, a transformation not of flesh but of essence. And then she is. A silver wolf crowned in living fire, her mane glowing like molten glass, her eyes 2 full moons burning in the dark. When she howls, the mountains answer. The sky cracks open. Kale's chains rattle in the distance. He strains, blood streaming down his arms, until something inside him, the beast he's feared for years, surges awake. The chains snap. He shifts mid-motion, fur erupting like smoke and shadow. The black wolf of legend, towering and relentless, races through the fire toward her. The battlefield becomes an inferno of sound and motion, fire against darkness, prophecy against control. The elders summon shadow wraiths from the soil, but the moonlight burns them before they can touch her. Lyria moves like the flame itself, graceful, wrathful, unstoppable. When Kael reaches her, their power collides. The ground shatters beneath their paws. The night bends. For one brief moment, all creation seems to pause, watching, waiting. Then, together, they turn on the council. The battlefield is chaos. Wolves clash in streams of blood and light. The sky rains embers. The earth trembles beneath each roar. Kael fights beside her, a phantom in the storm, striking down anything that dares to reach her. But even in the frenzy, he feels the shift, the energy building inside her. Dangerous and limitless. He knows what's coming. He can taste it in the air. Lyria. He growls through the bond, voice raw, desperate. If you release it, there'll be nothing left of you. She turns toward him, eyes blazing. Then I am already nothing. Her flames surge. The silver inferno spirals outward, consuming the wraiths, the elders, the altar itself. The night burns white. Kael lunges into the heart of the fire, his shadow wrapping around her light, anchoring her, grounding her before the magic devours everything. When the flames fade, the world is still. The battlefield lies in ruin, mountains split, rivers boiled dry. The torches are gone, replaced by a faint glow radiating from her fur. Lyria collapses to her knees, panting, steam rising from her skin as her body shifts back into human form. The mark on her palm, once a curse, now pulses steady, calm, alive. Kael limps toward her, half-shifted, fur torn and matted with blood. He kneels beside her, trembling fingers brushing soot from her cheek. You stopped it, he whispers. You did it. She shakes her head weakly. No, I ended it. Her eyes flick toward the last surviving elder, crawling through the dirt. The man's voice cracks like dry leaves. You've doomed us all. The flame can't exist without its vessel. Lyria rises, slow, deliberate. The moonlight curves around her like armor. Then it will learn to exist with me. The last chains fall away from her soul. She feels it, the surge of freedom rushing through her blood like lightning, the divine clarity of choice. For the first time in her life, she belongs to no prophecy, no curse, no alpha. Kael watches her, awe breaking through the exhaustion in his eyes. You're not what they said you were. Lyria turns to him, fire dimming to a steady glow. No, I never was. They needed me to be a monster so they could sleep at night. Her gaze hardens. But I am not your sacrifice. The declaration ripples through the valley, through the bones of the world. The moon flickers, acknowledging her as its equal, not its servant. Kael lowers his head, unable to speak. The weight of her words presses against him, both salvation and punishment. He had spent his life serving fate, obeying the will of gods and ghosts, protecting what was already broken. She had done the opposite. She'd burned it all to start again. He looks at her now, the woman, the wolf, the flame. Not a weapon, not a curse, a beginning. And he loves her. Not with the desperation of a man clinging to redemption, but with the reverence of one who finally understands what it means to kneel before power without fear. Lyria stumbles. The light within her flickers, draining. Kael catches her before she hits the ground. Her skin is burning hot, too hot. The mark is fading. No, he whispers. Stay with me. Don't you dare leave me now. Her lips move, barely a whisper. I wasn't made to last, Kael. The flame was never meant to stay in one body. His grip tightens. Then I'll carry it. I'll carry you. She smiles weakly, tears catching the firelight. You already do. Her hand finds his, pressing it against her chest. The mark transfers the light pouring from her skin into his, searing through his veins. He gasps, eyes wide, the fire taking hold. Lyria's voice softens. Now you'll know what it feels like to burn and survive. Her body collapses into light, dissolving into 1,000 silver embers that rise into the night sky. The flames vanish, leaving Cale kneeling in the silence, his hands trembling, his chest glowing faintly where the mark now rests. Around him, the battlefield begins to heal. The air grows still. Grass pushes through the ashes. Her presence lingers in the wind, brushing his cheek, whispering not words but feeling, freedom, love, fire. He looks up at the moon, half expecting it to turn away again. But it doesn't. It shines brighter as if bowing. The elders are gone, the prophecy rewritten, the old laws undone. But Cale knows this isn't peace, not yet. The flame burns inside him now, uncontained. He feels her pulse in his veins, her strength, her fury, her tenderness. He stands, alone among ruins, and howls not in grief, but in promise. She is not gone. She is everything. The howl carries across the valleys, echoing through packs and mountains, reaching even those who once cursed her name. And somewhere, deep within the wind, the flame answers back. Cale walks toward the mountains where the moonlight bends the strongest. His shadow stretches behind him, no longer haunted but haloed in faint silver fire. The legend begins to take root before the ashes cool. The alpha who carried the flame, the woman who defied the gods, the love that remade the moon. And in the distance, thunder rolls. Something stirs beyond the veil, the old magic shifting, testing its new master. Cale lifts his head, unafraid. "You took her body," he murmurs. "You'll never take her soul." He spreads his claws, and the light answers. The wind grows quiet, the stars flicker like eyes watching, remembering. And then, faintly, from the heart of the storm, comes a whisper that sounds almost human, a voice only he can hear. The story isn't over. He smiles. Not the smile of a conqueror, but of a man who finally understands that love, true love, doesn't end in fire. It becomes it. As the dawn rises, the mark on his chest glows once, then settles into stillness. The prophecy fulfilled. The curse broken. The flame reborn. And in the echoing silence that follows, a single heartbeat answers from beyond the veil. The battlefield sleeps beneath the weight of silence. No growl, no breath. Only the slow crackle of dying embers licking what remains of the sacred circle. Moonlight drapes the ruins like a shroud. The ground still trembles faintly, remembering what it just witnessed, love turned weapon, destiny unbound. Lyra lies among the ashes, her skin silvered by frost and flame. Her hair fans across the scorched earth like a halo forged from night itself. Beneath the quiet, something pulses faint, defiant her mark. It glows with a rhythm not her own, a heartbeat tethered to another. Cale kneels beside her, the alpha who defied gods and council alike. His hands, trembling and blood-stained, hover above her chest as if afraid that touching her would shatter what's left of her. The glow from their shared bond pulses between them, dim, but alive. The mark binds them, twined light, fused destiny. Neither destroyed, neither free. Cale whispers her name, and it breaks the night like a prayer. Lyra. Her lashes flutter, her lips part, her voice raw, barely a whisper slips through the ash and smoke. Is it over? He can't answer. He looks around at the hollow sky, at the smoldering horizon, and knows that peace is only the quiet between storms. Because where the fire ends, shadows wait. The mark between them brightens, faint threads of light stretching from her heart to his, a pulse of something ancient and watching. Then, it tightens. She winces, clutching her chest. Cale, it burns. The glow sears brighter, silver and crimson. Her eyes, half open, reflect the moon's fractured light. The scent of ozone thickens, the air hums. And in that charged stillness, something older than time whispers through her bones, not her voice, not his, but the echo of prophecy. The alpha who claims the flame shall bear its burden. Cale stiffens, his jaw tightens. What burden? The whisper curls around them like smoke, dissolving into the wind. Only silence replies. Her gaze drifts toward him, faint, tender, unguarded. You chose me. He nods once, the truth heavy in his throat. Always. And yet, there's fear in his eyes, not of her power, but of what it demands. Lyra's breath trembles. She reaches for his hand, her fingers brushing his skin. A faint shimmer passes through their bond, a promise, a warning. The light coils, then sinks beneath her skin. The fire dies out. The world exhales. Her body stills. The glow fades to a whisper. Kale calls her name again, softer now, like he's trying to wake a memory. Lyra. But only the night answers him. The moon hangs heavy overhead, watching in silence, its light now fractured, dimmed, as though it too mourns the cost of her freedom. Wind moves through the valley, carrying the scent of scorched earth and sorrow. A few surviving wolves lift their heads, their eyes gleaming with something more than fear, reverence. They witnessed a goddess born in blood and fire. And now, she sleeps. Kale stays there long after the fires die. His shadow stretches beside hers, two silhouettes framed in ruin. The mark on his arm throbs faintly, echoing her heartbeat, reminding him she's not gone, not truly, just beyond reach, somewhere between death and destiny. They called her cursed. They called her barren. They chained her, silenced her, burned her name into legend. And still, she rose, not as the Omega they buried, but as the fire they could never contain. Now the prophecy lives again, coiled in the quiet, waiting. Because a bond like theirs never ends, it only changes shape. And when she wakes, the world will have to choose. Will it kneel to her, or burn beneath her moonfire? Would you have chosen her, or feared her too? If her story stirred something inside you, a spark, a whisper, a defiance you can't name, then don't let it fade. Subscribe to Moonlight's Chronicle. Because here, we tell tales that burn, that heal, that remind you power and love are the same fire. If you're brave enough to hold them. The rain comes first. Soft, relentless, cleansing nothing. It falls over the blackened earth, turning the ashes into rivers of gray. Steam rises from scorched soil, hissing like spirits too restless to depart. The once sacred valley cradle of prophecy and blood is silent now, save for the sound of water meeting ruin. Kale kneels in the mud, his breath shallow, his shoulders trembling under the weight of both storm and grief. The air around him smells of iron and lightning. His hands rest on the still body before him, Lyra's form, motionless, pale beneath the dim light of the drowning moon. Her hair clings to her face, streaked with soot and blood. The glow that once crowned her has faded to embers. She looks almost human now, fragile, breakable, but Kale knows better. He's seen the flame inside her, he's felt its burn. And yet, he fears this silence more than her fire. The storm deepens. Lightning claws across the sky, illuminating the ruins of the council's circle, shattered stone, molten sigils, and bodies twisted in shapes no wolf was meant to die in. Kale's cloak hangs heavy, rain-soaked, each drop mixing with the blood that stains his skin. He leans over her, his voice a rasp that barely survives the wind. Lyra, open your eyes. No response. He presses a hand to her throat, searching for the pulse that once sang like moonlight. Nothing. His chest tightens, the edges of the world narrowing until all that exists is her. The storm answers him instead. Thunder cracks not far, but near, rolling across the valley like a warning. And then, a whisper slides through the rain. Not from her. Not from him. From everywhere. The Flameborn has risen. Kale's head jerks up, eyes searching the horizon. The voice is ancient, layered, the sound of prophecy breathing through broken time. But the Shadow Alpha has yet to wake. The words ripple through the storm, low and resonant. The earth hums in answer. Kale freezes. His spine straightens. His eyes flicker gold in the flash of lightning, and for an instant, something dark swirls behind the light. He looks down at Lyra again, his pulse thundering in his throat. "Shadow Alpha," he murmurs. "What does that mean?" The air thickens. Wind spirals. The rain shifts as if drawn by a pulse deep beneath the ground. Somewhere in the distance, beyond the ruins, beyond the bones of war, something moves. A vibration low, guttural rolls across the valley floor. At first it sounds like thunder, but Kale knows thunder doesn't breathe. It grows louder, deeper, alive. The wolves that survive the battle lift their heads in unison. Their ears flatten, their tails lower. A tremor of fear runs through the pack, instinctive, primal, absolute. Kale rises slowly, his body tense, his instincts screaming in every direction. He stares into the horizon where darkness gathers thicker than storm clouds, a shadow not cast by light, but born from its absence. Then it happens. A growl. Low, endless. Not the sound of a wolf, but something older, hungrier. Something that remembers before there were alphas or moons or names. The ground trembles under its breath. The storm recoils. Kale's jaw clenches. His eyes flash again, but the gold no longer holds. For one terrible heartbeat, they go black. He stumbles backward, gripping his temples, the rain pounding against him as if to wake him from something unseen. His breath turns ragged. He feels it a pulse not his own, threading through the bond, coiling behind his ribs. Something else is moving inside him. Something that remembers the darkness before the fire. He looks down at Lyra, her mark faintly glowing beneath her skin, and realizes the light is responding, not resisting, calling. Lightning splits the sky in two. The growl becomes a roar. Kale's vision fractures, shadow spilling at the edges. He drops to his knees, chest heaving, fighting whatever tries to rise within him. The ground beneath his palms burns cold. Not now, he grits out. Not her. But the rain thickens. The voice of the oracle threads through the downpour again, woven with thunder and grief. The moon gave fire to the cursed. The flame gave breath to the lost. And now, the shadow claims its vessel. Kale's scream drowns beneath the storm. His mark flares black now, not gold, the fire inside him twisting into smoke. The wolves cry out, scattering into the woods. Then silence. Utter, choking silence. Kale's body slumps forward beside Lyra's. His chest stills. His eyes, half open, glint with a sheen of darkness, a reflection of something vast watching from within. And deep beneath the soil, the valley trembles not from the storm, but from something waking, something that should have stayed buried. Rain continues to fall steady, patient, like time itself mourning what it must soon repeat. The fireborn and the shadow-bound, two halves of a prophecy written in ruin, one born to burn, one doomed to follow. The moon looks down pale, distant, merciless, and somewhere beyond sight, beyond storm and mortal fear, it watches, waiting for the balance to break. Because in every light, a shadow stirs, and when the flame wakes again, it will not be alone. The moon remembers, and her story has only just begun. The storm fades. The heartbeat does not.